Her phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Send the money or your whole school sees your body. I know your mother's name. I know your church. You belong to me now. Favor stared at the messages, her hands shaking, her heart pounding so loud she couldn't hear anything else. And that was the day our nightmare truly began. Favor was the kind of girl you wouldn't notice unless you were looking. Thin, always with books pressed to her chest, voice like a whisper. She didn't sit at the front in class or the back, just somewhere in the middle, where she could disappear quietly. But I noticed her. I noticed how she flinched when someone brushed past her in the hallway. How she started looking at people, or how she stared at her lunch without eating. How she walked home slowly, like she had nowhere for her to go. She lived 2 houses away from mine. I didn't know how well, not until it was almost too late. She told me where it all started. It wasn't love at first sight. It was loneliness at first message. Hi, beautiful. That was what the message said. It was from a stranger on a chat app she downloaded late one night when the silence in her room became unbearable. Her classmates laughed at her. Her teachers barely called her name. Her parents, always busy, always arguing. She told me she felt like wallpaper. Something in the background, noticed only when dirty. So, when Jay messaged her, she didn't block him. He was polite, patient. He also knew a name. He asked her how her day was. He noticed small things in her pictures like the bead bracelet on her wrist or how her eyes looked tired. And when he called her baby girl, she let herself believe he meant it. She told me she knew it wasn't real, but it felt better than real. The conversations went on for weeks. Jay told her he lived in London, that he was saving up to come to Nigeria, that he wanted to take her away, give her a new life. Just hold on, he said. Just keep loving me the way you do. And then, one night, he asked her for a photo of her in the bathroom taking a bath. Only for me, he said, just to feel close to you. She said no. He said, okay, I understand. 2 days later, he said he missed her. She felt guilty for not sending it. He didn't ask again. He just waited. That night, after a boy in school poured Fanta in her locker and laughed that she looked ugly, she went home, wiped her tears, and sent the photo. A photo of her in the bathroom having her bath. That was when the blackmail began. Jay's tone changed. No more sweet words, just cold threats. You want your father's church members to see this? You think people won't laugh more when I post it? Send 300,000 naira by Friday, or I send it to your classmates. I know their names. She thought it was a joke until he sent screenshots of her Instagram friends, her school name, her street. He even knew her parents' names. She panicked. She started stealing money from her mother's bag, sold her earrings, lied that she needed money for textbooks. Anything, but it was never enough. He kept demanding more. Her phone never stopped buzzing. She turned off notifications, but every time she turned it back on, there were 15, 20, 30 messages, all from him. Threats, countdown messages, countdown warnings, screenshots of her photo, ready to be shared. Every day, she lived in fear. She stopped smiling, stopped speaking. Even her bullies noticed something was wrong, but nobody asked. Nobody except me. Chief James Okonkwo, her father, was a man of stature, tall, commanding, always in a perfectly tailored agbada or a crisply pressed suit. He was respected, even feared, in political and corporate circles. His phone rarely left his ear, and his calendar was filled weeks in advance. When he was home, he wasn't really home. He worked from his study, a no-go zone for favor unless someone was dying. He believed that providing for his family was the ultimate act of love, so he worked tirelessly. But Favor couldn't remember the last time he asked her how she was doing. He paid her school fees, bought her a laptop, even gave her pocket money generously, but never noticed how withdrawn she had become. How much she longed for a simple, "Are you okay, baby girl?" Mrs. Nneka Nkonkwo, her mother, was a visionary, always well-dressed, her head wrapped perfectly tied, her eyes sharp from years of running a thriving fashion business. She was known in high society circles, and her clients from Abuja to London always wanted something from her. Her hands were always busy, cutting fabric, taking calls, correcting tailors, or traveling for fashion expos. She loved Favor, but in a distant way. She was the kind of mother who would send you designer clothes but forget your class presentation. She would say, "I'm working hard so you don't suffer," but never stop long enough to see that Favor was already suffering silently, invisibly. They lived in a beautiful house in Lekki. Marble floors, scented halls, a cook and a driver. But in that big house, Favor's room felt like an island. Meals were taken on separate schedules. Family time was rare, unless it was a public appearance or a holiday photo. Her parents were often together in public, but apart in spirit, like business partners running the family like a company. Love existed, but it was scheduled, polished, and too often postponed. Favor was surrounded by wealth, but starved of presence. Favor's parents loved her, at least that's what they always said, but love was something she rarely felt. Her father was a high-ranking official who traveled constantly, always on calls or in meetings. Even at home, his briefcase had more presence in the house than he did. Her mother ran a successful fashion business in Lagos and often juggled back-to-back orders, fittings, and phone calls that never seemed to end. At dinner, the TV was louder than the conversation. On weekends, her mother was at exhibitions or tailoring shops, while her father was either at a political event or glued to the news. Favor had learned to eat alone, study alone, and more painfully, hurt alone. If she ever started to speak, her mother would say, "Not now, Favor, I'm dealing with a client." If she knocked on her dad's door, he would gesture for silence while on a Zoom call. They provided everything: food, clothes, school fees, even a new phone, but never time. And slowly, the silence in a room became louder than their love. One afternoon, I caught her behind the house, shaking like she'd seen a ghost. I asked her what was wrong. At first, she just stared at me. Then, like a floodgate, the story poured out. She told me everything. I wanted to scream. I wanted to cry, but I stayed calm. "Now, we have to make a plan," to catch this criminal.